Hi creative friends, in this video I want to show you my most used colors from this palette. I first created this palette over a year ago and I've been using it non-stop. I love watercolors because a little bit goes such a long way. I probably squeezed out about 1.5 to 2 milliliters in each half pan. And some colors look like they haven't been touched and some colors have been very well used. So let me swatch out each one and show you how I love to use them. So first, when I set up my palette, I try to divide it by warm colors here and cool colors down here. Now, I don't mean warm and cool as in warm colors are only red, orange, and yellow, and then the cool colors are only green, blue, and purple. I mean warm and blue as in like their undertone or the color's temperature. So for example, the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, both have cool and warm undertones. So for example, the Scarlet Lake color here has a warm leaning, so it looks more red-orange rather than just a pure orange. Whereas these reds here, it's kind of hard to tell, but these are Permanent Alizarin Crimson and Carmine, and those lean more towards like a purplish red, so it's a cool toned red. I wasn't completely 100% accurate with my warm and cool leanings, but for the most part, I was pretty spot on. So why don't I go ahead and swatch them and just show you how they look. All right, I'll start with the inner colors just because they have like more of the reds and yellows, and then I'll move on to the outer ones. In terms of the reds, I've definitely used this red the most. I probably used these two reds the most. The warm red here is the Quinacridone Scarlet. And as you can see, this is a nice warm red. Go ahead and label these two. Quin Scarlet. And the one on the other side that I've used probably the most is the Carmine. I tend to use these reds a lot. Sometimes I use it for mixing and sometimes I just use it straight out of the palette, but these are really great for mixing. Kind of making my way down, I love this pink. It's more of a pastel pink. It's the Brilliant Pink from Holbein. And I just love how like Barbie pink it looks. And I've definitely used this for a lot of my Valentine's Day tutorials or just anything that just needs like a soft, cute pink color. Definitely one of my favorites. Another color that I've used like almost to the middle of the pan is this color right here. It's the Bright Rose. I definitely use this a lot. I've used this color quite a lot in my latest Bows and Bow Ties collection, where I actually mix this with the Jaune Brilliant #2 color right here. And so when you mix those two colors, actually you can see the mixture down here, you get this like beautiful coral-ish color going on. So I've really come to love that color. This is also a beautiful color for florals. Okay, in terms of yellow, I tend to lean more towards the cool yellow more than the warm. So this is my lemon yellow here. It's definitely seen better days. It looks kind of contaminated. But lemon yellow is probably my favorite yellow to mix, especially greens. Okay, the other yellows I have used, but it's not like I've used it to the point of, needing a refill. The next color I've really come to love is the Davies Gray. So this was actually not part of the original 48, but I used this a lot in my 2024 Christmas collection. And I just love how greenish gray this is. It's just right up my alley. So again, this is not part of the original 48 colors. I bought a tube of this separately. Okay, so those are some of my favorite colors from the inner rows. Now let's go on to the outside. One of my favorite colors since I first learned how to watercolor was Burnt Umber. So that's this brown up here. I've used it. I can I can almost see the bottom of the pan. Like it's such a good color. I use this a lot, especially for my trees, just anything like natural, the branches. I do use burnt sienna a lot, but it looks like I haven't quite used it to the point where, you know, like it creates that like divot inside, but I do use burnt sienna a lot. Let's see what else. I have used this gold quite a lot too, but again, not to the point where I can see a divot. So these two greens are probably my favorites. This over here, yeah, I don't know if you can see the divot, but it's pretty bad. But this is the Terra Verte. It reminds me of the chromium oxide green that I used to have in my Lucas 1862 watercolor set. And this one here is a sap green. Sap green is also another favorite green that I've used since my beginning watercolor days. Terra Verte and sap green. I know a lot of watercolor artists will say, you know, like mix your own greens, like don't use these convenience greens. And there is, you know, wisdom to that, and they do have a point. But if you're like me and you use green all the time, I mean, these are called convenience greens for a reason. You know, so if you are going to buy greens like separately or part of a set, make sure that there's at least one green that is more natural looking, like a sap green. And they usually do include sap green in smaller watercolor sets. Sometimes they include a phthalo green. Phthalo green is like a really bright green. So when you mix it with burnt umber or a Payne's gray, then you get a much deeper, more organic looking green. So if you do paint with green a lot, like I do, especially in all of my greenery, floral, you know, any of those kinds of paintings, yeah, I always gravitate towards these two color the most. Man, this color I've like barely touched. I don't even know what color that is. Same thing with this one. I think this one's the shadow green or something. But yeah, I've barely touched it. Okay, moving on to this last row back here. Another color that I've used quite a lot is this color, which is the Prussian blue. I love using the Prussian blue. And Prussian blue is also great for mixing as well. So if I wanted to take this color and mix it with a little bit of the sap green or even Terra Verte, you get this like bluish, silverish kind of color. Another earth color that I've used quite a lot is this sepia color. I like the sepia because it's not as warm as the burnt umber. It's great for using it for like shadows on your trees or branches, things like that. It's also great for mixing. Yeah, love this color. I made it a little too dark, so I'm going to just remove a little bit of the paint just so you can see it a little bit more transparent. There you go. Last but certainly not least, another color that I've used since my beginning watercolor days is the Payne's Gray. I absolutely love Payne's Gray. I can definitely feel a divot in there. Oh, I made this too dark too. Payne's Gray is a beautiful bluish gray color. And what I love about Payne's Gray is that it's a great alternative for black. I think a lot of people recommend not using the color black for any shadows or even darkening of colors. So instead of using pure black, use a Payne's Gray. And this is a great option for shadows or just darkening colors. So let me show you how I kind of, you know, create more colors out of these. Some of these I use just straight on its own. Like I said, the brilliant pink, I don't use it for mixing. I use it just kind of on its own. The lemon yellow, I'm always using it for mixing. Davy's gray, I probably would not mix because there's already a lot of pigments in here and I don't want to muddy my colors too much. Prussian blue is great for mixing, so is the bright rose. So yeah, let me just kind of show you some of the color mixtures, how I can diversify this color palette and why I tend to go to these colors over and over and over again. So let's first mix a great purple, which is the bright rose and the Prussian blue together. So when I put those two colors together, look at that color, so pretty. And the Prussian blue over here, well, that's probably way too much. These both like lean towards the purple, so you're gonna get this beautiful bright purple here. Look at that. So there's that there. Let me label that. So that's bright rose plus Prussian blue. Beautiful, beautiful color. Now, if I wanted a really bright, bright green, then I might mix the lemon yellow and the Prussian blue. So let's see what that looks like. Here's my lemon yellow. I'm going to grab just a little bit of the Prussian blue. Yeah, and just look at how beautiful that green is. Oh my gosh, it's like an emerald type of green. So pretty. So this is lemon yellow plus Prussian blue. So again, you can really diversify your palette by mixing. All right, let me show you what the Prussian blue plus the Terre Verte looks like. So I already have the Terre Verte here. I'm just going to add some water to it. And let me bring some of the Prussian blue into it. A little bit more. Look at that. Okay. All right, now if I wanted to neutralize this bright rose just a little bit, I might add a little bit of the green into it because it is a complementary color. So let's see what that looks like. So here's the bright rose. Now if I add just a little bit of the Terre Verte into it, okay, now you get this maroon type of color. Which is actually kind of pretty. Bright rose. I feel like you could do like a huge color study on, the colors that you use the most and see if you can diversify them and, make them and maximize its usage. Same thing with the carmine. You can neutralize that with a little bit of green as well. Now let's see what happens when you mix brown into one of the greens. Now this will create a pretty muddy color because you're mixing a lot of pigments together. So here I'm mixing the Terre Verte and the sepia together. So because the sepia has a coolish undertone, I'm going to neutralize the color and then also darken it quite a bit. So look at that. You have like a really dark olive green. I think if I added a little bit more of the green, it'll be more like an army green right there. So this is sepia. And of course, the amount that you mix of both colors is obviously going to affect, how the mixture comes out as well. And lastly, let's mix these two colors. Because again, I said that when I mix this with a warmer yellow, you get like a beautiful coral color. So let me just show you what that looks like. Now, mixing a cool yellow is going to look a little bit different. So there's the bright rose again. There's my lemon yellow. This is bright rose. I could probably make another row if I really wanted to, but I'm also trying to be realistic about how I use these colors because I don't always mix necessarily these colors. Like I said, I use them straight from the palette usually, or if I do mix them, I'm using usually the Prussian blue into other colors, or I'm mixing lemon yellow into those colors. But usually, because I'm a little bit lazy, I like to use the colors straight from the palette. There's really no wrong way to use watercolors. Again, a lot of people will say less colors is more, and I do agree with that statement because you do learn a lot about your paints. And even just doing this exercise reminded me, of just how many other beautiful colors you can make with with just these 12 colors. And this is obviously not even the extent. You can make so many more colors. You can make dozens more colors with just these 12 colors. Again, after a year of using this palette of Holbein Artists Watercolors, I am still in love. And as you can see, some of these colors are very well used and well loved. And some of these colors I just haven't touched. And the fact that I didn't really use them doesn't mean that it's not of good quality. It just means that it might not fit my color scheme at that moment. Maybe I haven't come across a design or an illustration that requires that color. So again, it does not reflect the quality of these paints. So what do you think? Do you see your favorite color on this list? Have you checked in with your most used watercolor palette? Took a note of which colors you've used the most? I would love to see what your most used colors are and how you've used them in your paintings. Let me know in the comments which are your most used colors. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe and like this video. And if you love to explore color like this, please leave a paint palette emoji below, and I'd love to create more content like this. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.